Question number 1. Work out 36 times 24. The only place you're going to see a question like this is on the non-calculator paper, so you need to use some method, and the one you're probably going to be most familiar with is the grid method. There's 20. So we split the 36 into the 30 and the 6, and we split the 24 into the 20 and the 4, and then we just multiply all the bits together. So you've got 2 times 3, which is 6, 2 times 6, which is 12, with a naught on the end from the 20, 3 times 4, which is 12, with a naught on the end from the 30, and 4 6 is 24, and then you add them up. So you've got 600, 120, 120, and 24, and that adds up to 4, that adds to 6, and that adds up to 8, 864. And always double check what you've done. Question 2, bit of a probability question here. 600 counters in the bag, 90 of the counters are yellow. Part A, work out 90 as a fraction of 600. So this is how you write the fraction. You write 90 out of 600. And then it says give your answer in its simplest form. So that's just a game of spot the times table. And the most simple times table that these two are clearly in is the 10 times table. So this simplifies down to 9 over 60. Now hopefully the next times table you're looking at, you're thinking 3 times table. And you can see 3 is going to 9 3 times. And if you chop that into 3 you get 20. And that is as simple as it goes. And the reason it doesn't go any simpler is because there are no common factors between 3 and 20. Now, we're given some more information. 180 of the 600 counters are red. Work out 180 as a percentage of 600. Now, percentages are just special fractions. So we're going to start by writing the fraction 180 out of 600. Now, to know how to use percentages, all you need to understand is that the bottom number has to be out of 100, because a percentage is a fraction out of 100. And you can see to go from here to here, you've got to divide by 6. And if you do the same to the top, well, there are 3 6's in here, so you divide 180 by 6 and you end up with 30. And 30 out of 100 has another name, it's 30%. And that's what goes there. Now, next part. The rest of the counters in the bag are blue or green. There are twice as many blue counters as green counters. Work out the number of green counters in the bag. So, a bit confusing. So let's just review what we know. We know that we've got red, yellow, blue, and green. And we know that 180 are red. If we go back up, you'll see that 90 are yellow. And there's a total of 600. So, what that means is that we can start off by doing 600 and we can subtract 180. And that's 500, 420. And then we can subtract 90 off that, 420, subtract 90, which leaves us with 330. And be paranoid, add them back on, just to check you've done it right. 330 and 90, they add on to make 420, and 420 and 180, they add, it's supposed to be add by the way, they add to make 0, go with 1, 6, 600. So that's good. So we've got 330 counters between the blue and the green. Now, there are twice as many blue as green. What that means is that for every 1 green, there are 2 blue. And we need 2 numbers here that are going to add up to 330. And you might think of a quick way of doing this, and there are quick ways of doing it, but what I'm going to suggest is let's just multiply both these by 100. So we've got 200 and 100. So for every 1 green there's 2 blue, for every 100 green there are 200 blue. Now that makes a total of 300, but we've got 300 left over, so it's 330 left over. So we've just got this 30 to consider really, and so it seems to me that if we put 20 blues and 10 greens, then that means there will be 220 blues for 110 greens, and they would add up to 330. Let's just see if that works. There are twice as many blue counters as green counters. So there's 110 green. If you double it, you get the number of blue. So that must mean that we are right. Now, for those of you that didn't follow that explanation, another way you might have gone about doing it is this. Once you identify the 330 total blue and green, you might have written this down as a ratio. So the ratio would have been, so you'd have blue to green and total, and the ratio is twice as many blue as green, so that's 2 blue to 1 green, which is a total of 3, and you know the total blue and green is 330, and so that is multiplied by 110, which means we've got 110 and 220. So let's move on. On to the slightly harder questions now. If you're listening to this bit and you're after a B or better, you're very well advised to go and work through the first part of these exercises, because that's C grade stuff as well, so you should do the whole thing really. We've got an inequality here. Just treat it like an equation really. And you can see the first thing we're going to do here is to get rid of the fact there's t's on both sides, so I'm going to get rid of the smaller number of t's, and that's a positive t, so I'm going to subtract t from both sides, which leaves me with 2t plus 1 is less than 12. Notice I've kept the less than sign, very important if you want the marks. Now I'm going to subtract 1 from both sides, which leaves me with 2t is less than 11, and now I'm going to divide both sides by 2, which means that t is less than 5.5 or 5.5, and that's the answer. And make sure that you leave the right sign in your answer, and that's the sign you started with usually. Now, t is a whole number. Write down the largest value of t that satisfies this equation. This is a carry-on from the previous bit. We've just worked out that t has got to be less than 5.5, but now they're telling us that it's a whole number, and they want the largest one it could be. So the largest one it could be is 5. And the reason for that is t can't be 6 because it's smaller than 5.5 according to this. So it can't be 6. So the next whole number is down is 5, and 5 is smaller than 5.5, so that's allowed. Estimating. Again, if you're asked to do this, this is a non-calculator question, so if you have tried it with a calculator, try it again without a calculator now. When you do these, you round to one significant figure, pardon me. So 6.8 will become 7, no surprises there. 191 will become 200. You're rounding to one significant figure. If you rounded to 190, you made it too hard for yourself. And on the bottom, 0.1. Okay, so we're rounding it to one significant figure. In one decimal place there. I suppose we could have gone for 0.05. Now, 7 times 200 is 1400 divided by 0.1, and when you divide by 0.1, that's the same as timesing by 10, so that's going to be 14000. 68,000 in standard form. So 68,000 in standard form, very straightforward. 68,000. Now, it's going to be 6.8 times 10, and now we need to know what the power is. So the point's going to be there, and in order to put it where it should be, which is there, you're going to have to times it by 10 once, twice, 3 times, 4 times. So go to 4 there. Now, this number is not in standard form because the 146 is not between 1 and 10. So to turn it into standard form, it's going to be 1.46 times 10, and now we've got to get our power right. So when we turn 146 into 1.46, we are dividing it by 10 twice. Okay, because the decimal point started here and it's ended here. So if we divide this by 10 twice, to compensate we have to multiply that by 10 twice. So that means the power is going to go up, so it's going to be times 10 to the minus 5. Question 4. Factorize fully. This is the sort of question that catches people out because they're expecting the bit that comes next in part B. So first of all I'm looking for numbers, and I can see that there's a common factor of 2. And now I'm looking at the letters, there's a common factor of x. And this is a single bracket factorization, so 2x times 2 will give me the 4, and another x will give me the x squared. Clearly it's going to be a minus in the middle. 2 times 3 is 6, and I need a y. And that's fully factorized. And now you would check it out by multiplying. Always do this. 2x minus 3y. And you see that's 2 times 2, that's 4x squared. Tick, because that's what we wanted. That's minus 6xy. Tick, because that's what we wanted. So, 2x brackets 2x minus 3y. Another factorize, definitely a higher tier one here. The previous one could have been on the foundation paper because it's sort of grade C-ish. Here we've got double brackets. This is a quadratic, sort of very classic form. We've got our x squared bit at the beginning, our x, and then our number. That's our first bit. That's going to give us the x squared. Now we look at the 6. 1 times 6, 2 times 3. They both look like they could give us 5, so we have to be careful here because you could add those to get 5 and you could subtract them. Now, the minus tells us the signs are different. And if you've got a plus 2 and a minus 3, that won't make 5, and vice versa. So it's going to be the top two. And it's going to be this way around, plus 6, minus 1. And the reason it's this way around is because this way gives us the positive 5x. But don't take my word for it, and please, if you don't do this step when you factorize, you are just leaving yourself open to losing marks. I'm going to check my answer because I'm suspicious. X times x is x squared. Then we've got positive 6x, negative 1x, and then negative 6. And be careful that you've multiplied them, not added them. And don't be mistaken, this doesn't mean take away 1, it means negative 1, because negative 1 and take away 1 are exactly the same thing as far as you need to be worried about. So, these two things here combine to make 5x, a positive 5x, which is what we wanted. So, this is the answer, x plus 6, x minus 1. Well, I hope it went well for you, and look forward to going through the next lot with you.